How's it going, Reef Keepers? So in this video, I am down in the sump area because I want to talk about auto water testers. And all I can offer from my perspective is my experience with the Neptune Trident, right? But the Trident is similar to many auto water testers out there. So, you know, a lot of these principles apply across the board. And I just want to talk about like loosely what it is to have an auto water tester, some of the people that, you know, may find a lot of use out of them, and also some people that may want to consider a different route. So when it comes to auto water testing, the first thing to understand is you're basically signing up for like a long-term subscription plan to paying for reagents, right? Encapsulated within this unit are 3 little containers that contain reagents that test alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium. Now you're gonna, you know, whether you're using an Alkatronic, whether you're using a Reef factory auto tester, you're gonna have reagent cost associated with it, right? The pricing varies, but just understand you're walking into a subscription plan model. And what kind of upsets me about that is that these companies are gonna make a lot of money from a lot of reef keepers on reagents, but they price these things at a very, very expensive cost, considering you're going to be coming back most likely again and again and again and paying them money for reagents, right? So reagent cost for a Neptune Trident for 3 containers, 1, 2, 3 that go inside of it, let's just do a 6-month supply. I think that's one of the best deals you can get on their official reagents, $110. So you're paying $110 twice a year to buy 6-month, you know, packages of reagents. That's a lot of money, right? A lot of money. And it can't be ignored. Now you could go like I have and shift over to ABC Reagents, which is, you know, a company started by a chemist who looked at the reagents that were being used in these auto testers and said, hey, they're marking these reagents up a ridiculous amount and ripping off reef keepers. I'm going to begin my own company and sell the same exact reagents for half the price. I mean, you can get for $60, you get 6 months from ABC Reagents. But when you break it down, right, 6 months of reagent at a time, buying reagents for these kinds of auto testers is still more money than you're going to spend in reagents on like HANA test kits, most likely over the course of a year. If not, it may be about the same cost or less. And you're avoiding the massive cost of getting the machine in the first place. So keep that in mind. The cost structure of the whole thing is, it is not cheap, right? However, for the cost, you get some pretty cool features. So with the Trident, for instance, and by the way, most of these have interfaces in their apps like this, where you can view your current alkalinity, calcium, magnesium. Some of them have nitrate and phosphate readouts. Some of them have, like the Mastertronic, have way more. So it's very nice to hop in and just see where you're at with everything, you know, and it tests it, you know, what I think this tests alkalinity 4 times a day and then calcium, magnesium twice a day. So you have a pretty up-to-date readout. You can test more than that with the Trident, but I don't want to spend more money than that. So you also get little graphs that show like your trends over time. By the way, this was me adjusting the calibration, so that's why you get this weird blip on mine. And then you also get like readouts of how much reagent is estimated to be left, and there's another, like, you know, broken down by numerically how many tests you have left, and even a little waste container estimate. So I mean, this is all pretty nice. And when you pair it with the dose units like I have, you can actually have these things in many cases, depending on which one you get. You can have them control the companion dosing units that you get with them. So that, and again, it doesn't mean that you can set it and forget it. You're gonna have to periodically like adjust for swings that are going on, and you know, as your corals, you know, eat more supplements, you're gonna have to adjust it over time. But you can take out the constant hopping into an app and adjusting your dosing amounts that you have to do without these things. So if you want to go that way and you trust them to that extent, which so far I do, I'll be honest, I do use that functionality. They are a luxury that is very, very, you know, convenient. And so in that regard, convenience and luxury, yeah, they're great, right? However, I will note, I bought this when I was a business guy traveling every day of the week for work, okay? Like long distances in a car. And oftentimes would stay overnight somewhere, or like, you know, I would come home late. I didn't have the energy and time to constantly be testing my system. So for a certain subset of people who have super demanding jobs or travel situations, yeah, these are almost like, you know, if you want to grow certain kinds of coral, they almost become a necessity, and they're justified, and the cost is justified. And typically those people are higher wage earners. I made a lot more money then. And that's why I got the dose units, the Trident, the whole Neptune system, all these different modules. Like, I was like, I want this thing to run on autopilot, and you can achieve that with a lot of money. However, if you are like most people, like I am now, where like you have just a normal day job that you go to, and then you come home and you're not totally burnt out yet, you still have energy and passion for your hobby for at least an hour or two every night, you know, you could conceivably be testing like, you know, every other day on your own. And if that's the case, you know, and you're not spread a whole bunch of different ways in your life, then I don't know that you could justify the upfront cost of this thing and then the reagent cost on top of it, right? If it was one or the other, maybe, yeah. But it's very hard. And of course, anybody can do anything they want, right? I'm giving advice from my perspective. From my perspective, if I started reefing right now and I just had this normal life with a normal work-life balance like I have now, would I buy this or similar? Probably not. I'd probably do the cost breakdown and say, okay, for the amount of Hannah reagents that I can get and me testing, you know, every other day or every 3 days over the course of a year, you know, that beats buying reagents for this and the upfront cost of this combined. So no, I'm not going to do it. You know, I go on like one vacation a year, if that. If you're a big vacationer, again, maybe it's worth it to you, right? If you don't have a tank sitter, it might be worth it. So there are like particular subsets of people, or just people who are cash flush, who can afford the luxury of it, who, yeah, if you can, it's super convenient. It's super enjoyable. Like, you know, being able to pull this up on your phone and like see this interface and just hop in and, you know, change different dosing levels and have software take care of some of the dosing for you. Like, yeah, I mean, it's very nice to have. But it is certainly not necessary for, I would say, plurality of American reef keepers, probably a plurality of reef keepers in the Western world. You know, you don't need one of these things to succeed in the hobby by any means. And I think most people understand that, but understanding the cost breakdown and understanding like different subsets of people that may really need these things, and understanding really the subscription model that you're falling into with them, as nice as they are, there are drawbacks, right? And there are costs that are, you know, long-term costs that are associated with it. So just know what you're getting into. They're not a set and forget thing. You also need to maintenance them. You also sometimes, depending on the company, need to send them into the company to be maintenanced or refurbished every like 5 years. You need to sometimes buy new lines for the sample line or the waste line. You have to empty waste containers. So it's not like, you know, this solves all your problems either. But again, you know, it is a very convenient, luxurious thing to have on your tank. And it probably, for certain people, will help with tank stability. So pros and cons, just like everything else in this hobby. And again, you can do this hobby so many different ways. These are not necessary to succeed. But, you know, if somebody is in a certain situation or they just have the money and they really, really want one, I wouldn't stand in the way and, you know, try to put a judgment call on them. You know, it's nice. There's no doubt. So, all right, guys. Hope everybody's having a good day, and I will catch you again tomorrow.